Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenniger, and welcome to the Eddy Network podcast. My guest today is Kristin Johnson, director of the historic Broyhill Center and the president of the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce here in North Carolina. She's a remarkable person. I'm just getting to know. This is our first conversation, and it's incredible. It's really incredible. I'm really happy to know you, and I look forward to working with you in the future, because I think
Oh my gosh.
that's really what is showing itself to us in our initial conversation. So
It
welcome.
really is. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ed, for having me. And hi, everybody. I'm Kristin Johnson. Like you said, I'm in Clemmons, North Carolina, and thrilled to have this conversation. So let's talk.
So tell us a little bit about what you do and
Okay,
what historic Broyhill is and
sure.
um, and and what you do with the chamber.
Okay, so historic Broyhill it's an old building, but it's got a lot more to it than that. So this building that I'm in was built in 1925 as an elementary school, and it operated as an elementary school through the early 80s, and it was slated for tear down. Because the school that it was at that time was being rebuilt behind it. So there's a school right behind us on this property that is the new elementary school from the 80s. But the Broyhill family, Mr. Ed Broyhill, who's our owner here at the historic Broyhill, he loves history. He has an affinity for history. And he came to a town meeting right before the building was to be demolished. And he said, please don't tear down this building. I want to preserve it. And so he did. And it's been a myriad of things since the 80s. But the last 2 decades, it's been the historic Broyhill, which is a 5-acre campus, 3 buildings, and we have several different offices that call this place home. They're headquartered here. I'd say we have 50 plus businesses that are tenants here at the historic Broyhill. And then in the heart of our facility, we have an event center. And so we have things from weddings to social gatherings, business meetings, lots of seminars happen here. The Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce, which we'll get to that in a second. They meet monthly here. And then there are several other meetings that happen within the walls with regard to the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce. We have a podcast studio here. We have outdoor meeting spaces. It's a very robust facility. I've
So,
been the director of it for 14 years now.
so this in a specific sense is a center for community for the community.
Absolutely. It's a center for the community because our heart of it is an event space. And so it's almost a Mesopotamia of sorts where people come and gather. And then surrounding that is our core group of the historic Broyhill community. We have people, again, that have offices here. They're key holders to their individual spaces, but they have the opportunity to come out and network with all of these people within the facility. So it's a very unique place. It's a unique business model, and it's growing in success as we develop it over the years. I mean, we didn't miss too much of a beat even during COVID.
Hmm.
And here we are back together, thank God, face to face, and doing very well with this concept. I think people need community. People want community.
I think you're exactly right. And is that different now because of COVID? Is it is there a different vibe there because people felt so isolated during COVID that now that they're free, come back together? Do you see something new and different now?
100%. Absolutely, yes. I would say that if you divide this business into the 2 segments, offices and events, the event side of this world has gone through just a whole rebirth. I mean, it really has. People feel permission to get together without harming others. You know, there was so much fear during COVID. And I personally don't believe we were created to be alone. We were created to be together. Um 2 or more gathering is a very powerful thing. And in the event side of the world, we have felt this rebirth of folks wanting to be together. So we've been busier than ever in that side of our business. Our offices has continued to be steady. I think we have one space left right now in 50. So that speaks volumes for itself. We're a vibrant community.
And what kind of businesses are located there?
Oh, name an industry, we might have it. I mean, really, truly. We've got counselors, we've got teachers, we've got a medical clinic, we've got wealth management. So you know what? This is the raw side of podcasting. My office mate's coming in, so you're gonna see her walk in the door. Can we keep rolling like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, of course. It's life.
um, no, we do. We have social media gurus. We have a church. CPAs, all kinds of things. I mean, if you've got a viable business, you're welcome.
So in a certain sense, this is a town. It's like a town, you know.
It kind of
And
is.
you're the mayor, and you're the mayor.
There's a new sheriff in town.
The
No,
sheriff in town.
I'm not. I don't know if I claim to be the mayor, but I will say this: I have, and you need to take this the right way. But I've said it's almost like a college dorm, because you have your own individual room. You might have a roommate, which is your office mate, but you're able to come out and just socialize and be around people. We have a lobby in the center of our facility that has a TV, and we play Final Four games. People will bring in food, and we have coffee down there, and people just hang out and socialize. But when it's time to work and get back to business, they can go back to their space and actually be productive, and they're not at home. That's another thing. I feel like people were so challenged, myself included, during COVID. So to paint a little picture of the personal Kristin Johnson, she is a wife. She's a mother of two. I have two small children, Anna and Jared, and they are 7 and 8 years old. I have 3 dogs, and hi, we're recording live on a podcast. Shannon says hello.
Hey, Shannon.
She says hi. So yes, I have a very active household. So 3 dogs, 2 kids. My husband and I both work, and so when COVID was here, it was ultra challenging to be in a space like home and try to work outward when you have so many distractions going on. And so I wasn't alone in feeling that. In fact, I
Right.
was speaking at an organization about the historic Broyhill once, and I said, you know, it was right after we started coming back after COVID, and I said, so here I am representing an office complex, and you guys just had the luxury of working from home. You know, you got to be in your pajamas, and you got to get your snacks whenever you wanted to, and you got to do your laundry whenever you wanted to, and notice your baseboards were dirty, and talk to your kids, and have to take your dogs out, and all these things at home that you got to do while you were at work. And then there was something else you were also getting to do or having to do while you were at home with all those distractions. And oh, it was your job. And so you had to do that too at your home. And everybody started laughing, because when you're at home, there's so many things to pull you away from what you're really just trying to focus on. I think people were so ready to get back to just being able to have almost a safe space, a respite to do their job.
Yeah, I think that is true. They like the idea of being home. Many people like the idea of working from home, but I think many of those were not people that had a bunch of children and a bunch of pets and a
Oh, even
house. And,
so,
yeah,
with even being alone, you know, you still have the things that are calling you to get done at your home. And so I think just being able to compartmentalize the two worlds was really impactful for people. I think people were ready to get back.
so you were also the president of the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, yes.
And,
I
give us
was
a
asked to.
picture of what that is.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll tell you what it is. It's a big honor. It's a really big honor. The organization voted me in this year to serve as the president for the year of 2024. So, I mean, we're at the beginning of January. We've had our first meeting, and so I'm fresh to the term this year. I have served in this capacity once before in 2019. So after a 5-year gap, I'm doing this again. And I think I might be the only one to have come back and served in this role twice, not consecutively. So it's a huge honor. Uh what does it look like? I am asked to help lead the organization. And so I think the organization is one that facilitates and fosters leadership, and that's my role this year.
And how many businesses or organizations are connected with the chamber?
I don't know if I could give you the stats. So we have an executive director. Her name is Denise Heidel. She's phenomenal. She's been in the role of executive director for several years now, and she really does the nuts and bolts of the business as far as how many businesses are there, what is the actual programming. But I do know this: there are several hundred members. I want to say there are 200 plus members that come to the monthly meeting.
And Lewisville and Clemmons are two communities in Forsyth County, North Carolina, connected but not connected.
Exactly.
How's that relationship function?
I feel that it's a wonderful relationship because it is two smaller communities together. The organization has been the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce since inception, and I can't remember how many years the organization is. Actually, I can remember exactly because in February, which is next month, the organization is celebrating its sweet 17th birthday. So for
Okay.
17 years, it has been the dual Lewisville and Clemmons chamber in one under one roof.
Well, having grown up in Winston-Salem, which is right next door to you,
Yes.
we knew people in Clemmons, and I know people now in Lewisville. So it's it's a place that I'm familiar with because of relationships that I've with people that I've known, and it's it's always been a kind of a special place, a place of energy and commercial vitality from what I've always seen.
Mhm.
We used to drive through there on my way, on our family's way to Asheville to see grandparents, and it stood out. Oh, this is Clemens. This is that was the way you went, and so
Was
the,
it because of all the businesses you passed along that big
that's
road?
right.
And that's yeah, yeah.
So what are the challenges that businesses in Lewis and Clemens, Louisville and Clemens are facing today? What do you what are the things that you are? Let me restate this. Um, as president, what is it that you want to encourage the businesses to do or to become there in the through the chamber?
Okay, so what a robust question. I could answer it a myriad of ways, but to go to what you very first said, some of the challenges, and this is interesting. You hear people say a lot, "Well, that's a good problem to have." I'd say that we're probably in that category right now. One of the challenges is growth. And with growth comes increased things. For example, traffic. I would say that that's one of the hot spots is traffic in Lewisville-Clemmons because they're rural communities. They were rural communities that are quickly developing. North Carolina. So I served on the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce board several years ago in the capacity of economic development. And so I was tracking the trends of how many people were moving into the area, how many businesses were moving into the area, opening up in the area, closing in the area, how much traffic, how much of an influx was there of all these things. And North Carolina is just exploding with growth. And North Carolina, especially in our area, the Piedmont Triad, is just it's flourishing. And so with that growth comes some of the challenge of that growth. How are we going to support the people? How much housing is there? Is there affordable housing? Where can people headquarter their businesses? And again, to go back to the historic Broyhill vein, that's one of the things that I've just been so honored and proud to provide is a home for some of these businesses that are coming in. Um, so the organization of Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce is it's a hub for all these businesses. It's a one-stop shop. If they want to know what's going on in the community, they can find it at the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce, if they want to know how they can get involved, if they want to know how they can learn, what kind of speakers can they hear, how can they volunteer, it's that place where everybody comes and gathers, and it happens to be in the facility that I manage. So it's been a really nice dovetail, if you will. The chamber picks a word of the year. Every year they have picked one. And this year, the word of the year that was chosen, and I wasn't even instrumental in the choosing of this. This was chosen and handed off to me. The word is, and I love this, and this is why I love that you called me, the word is impact.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure if people are listening to this podcast, or watching the podcast, they know about you and your efforts surrounding the word impact. And because I've gotten to know of you and I'm getting to know you, I just want to show you this. I ordered this and it arrived on my doorstep yesterday. This is
All
your
right.
book.
Very
And
good.
and look at this word, impact. I mean, right there. And so the Chamber of Commerce, I can't wait to read it. I haven't even cracked the cover yet, so I can't wait. It just arrived. The word impact it's such a robust word in itself. And so when I was handed this word to represent the organization, I mean, all the things that I can personally do with this word, I mean, it's almost overwhelming, the direction you can take with this word. I can give you an example of how I've used it in our opening meeting.
Please.
Okay. Okay. So I was thinking about the word and I was thinking about a simple way. I had 2 or 3 minutes to cue this up, and I was thinking about a simple way that we have impact on each other. And, our society is centered around smartphones everywhere, smartwatches, the whole thing. We do a lot of talking to each other, and we're all very busy. And so I was thinking about impact, and I was thinking about our phones. So I opened up the meeting in January and I said, now guys, before I even ask you the question I'm going to ask, the answer cannot be this: decline the call. You may not say decline the call. We're going to answer this call,
I know where
okay?
this is going.
And everybody starts laughing a little bit. And I said, okay, so let's talk about a very, very 101 type way that you can impact each other. Your phone rings. I said, I've already queued this up for you. What do you do? And they all were very nice and they said, you answer it. And I said, perfect. So your phone rings, you answer it. How do you answer your phone? Do you say, what? Do you say, hey? Do you even in a muffled, unenthusiastic tone say, hello? That right there, your opening remark is going to impact your caller. Whether it impacts just the moment, their day, how they answer to other people, it has impact. So my challenge was, when a caller is ringing your line, you answer in an open, welcoming way. You don't have to be bubbly. You don't have to be something that you're not, but just be genuine and say, hello.
Yes.
And then that gives them permission to go forward with the reason that they're calling, which ultimately protects your time as well. And so think about the impact that a warm greeting has on somebody and on their day. And so I challenged each of our members to consider that when their phone was going to ring, one of the hundreds of times probably that it would ring that day, is just to have an open, welcoming, warm greeting and carry that forward.
Well,
That's impact.
I think part of the problem, if I may interject here,
Please.
every phone call that comes to them is an interruption of whatever else that they were doing at that moment, and that inability to make that quick transition from focused on, we're looking at these numbers, to hello, how are you? Oh, it's great to hear. To make that transition it's a challenge for a lot of people, because
Completely.
they're
But see,
focused.
okay, but you use the word leader, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, you use the word leader. And oh man, I challenge people to lead themselves and to lead their own schedules.
Yeah.
So, to your point, if you're focused in on those numbers and it is not the space to take Ed's phone call, you silence your phone and you set aside, you lead your own schedule, you manage your own time. And so that's up to you. I feel like you need to set your own parameters. And if it's not the time, you don't answer when it's not the time. I'm telling you what, a heart surgeon's not picking up saying hello during surgery. So why would we expect to do that either? And so we need to start with establishing our own goals within leadership, lead ourselves, and then in turn, we can lead others.
Well, let's take this one step further.
Go for it.
They should be thinking well before any phone calls come in. This is how I am going to perform on the phone. I'm going to answer the phone in a particular way. I'm going to prepare myself to be open and enthusiastic when someone calls. Even if they're calling to criticize me for something, I'm going to open the emotion of that call with openness and welcome. And, oh, it's so good to hear from you. Oh, I'm sorry you feel this way. What is it that we can do to solve your problem? So all of a sudden, it's not combative, it's not conflicted,
You're disarming.
it's disarming. That's exactly.
Yes, absolutely. And then I feel like this is almost going into sales 101, but strike while the iron's hot. You have to understand people's, oh my gosh, this is why we're doing video podcasting. You have to understand people's language, and that's not only in word, that's in body language.
Right.
And so I know we're talking about answering a phone call, but you can hear people's body language. I'll never forget this. And it makes me smile even to say it. People can hear when you're smiling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Totally.
it's not just a pretty white smile. It's people hear that on the telephone. People can also then hear when you're frowning. So that's why you can't fake your way through life. You have to be a very genuine person. That's why I said, if you're not bubbly, if that's not your thing, don't try to be it. You will sound very disingenuous. Is that a word?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I think it's also that you have to display energy through your voice.
Absolutely.
And if you're sitting there with, kind of crunched up talking on the phone, your voice will become less and less energetic. So there are times when I will receive a call that I need to have, and I will stand up and
Yes.
walk and talk on the phone because that energizes me, and it makes me feel like I am engaged with them at a physical level. I'm embodying the energy of my body into the energy of my voice as I'm talking to them.
So, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you have a lot of endeavors, you have a lot of goals, and you're working on a lot of projects. So when you are doing the hypothetical number crunching and you cannot be disrupted, do you set your schedule ahead of time for the day, the week, the month? Do you know when you have your personal time to be really focused in and then you're open and receptive to others? Do you know that about your day already before you begin?
Yes.
And how are you so disciplined? Because I think a lot of people struggle with discipline.
Um, it's a good question. It really is. I think discipline is a product of being clear about what you want to achieve and what your goals are and what your purpose is. And it's not it's connecting those ideas that sit in our head and maybe have an emotional connection to us to actually what we do every day. So when I wrote the book, um, I found that I couldn't do it in my normal fashion. You go to bed and you get up at 7 and you spend, you have, basically from 7 to 6 or 7 to 7 every day. You got 12 hours of work. And I found I couldn't write the book that way. So I started going to bed at 8:30, and I would sleep for 4 hours. I'd wake up at 12:30, and I'd get up and write for 2 hours or maybe 3 hours. Then I'd go back to bed for a couple hours. And then what ended up happening was I would lie in bed and I would type into my phone the thoughts that had emerged while I was asleep. But then what began to happen was I stopped that. I would not be awake for so long in that awakened state in the middle of my sleep. So I started waking up and getting up at 4:30, and I would write until about 9 or 10, and that was my time. And then, and basically, I decided that I was going to do this mental work of writing between, say, 4:30 and 9 or 10 o'clock, and then from 10 o'clock until I went to bed, that was the time for me to interact with people.
To just live your life.
Yeah, to live my
And
life.
really to receive inspiration at that point, I
Yeah,
assume. I mean,
yeah.
because you were being awakened at night, you were inspired by something even in your subconscious.
So I came to talk about this as the time that I go to bed at night, and I don't do it as and like I used to, but at 8:30 or 9 was the time that I started my day. My day would start by my sleep, and the quality of my sleep would dictate the
Whoa.
quality of my day.
That's so interesting. It's almost like the quality of someone answering the phone dictates the quality of the conversation.
That's right. That's exactly right. But you have to think about this. You have
Absolutely.
and you have to come to it at some point the conclusion that what I'm doing is not satisfying or satisfactory. And I need to change. I need to change, not they need to change. I need to change. And it has as much to do with how I feel about myself as it does with how I'm going to be with those other people. I want to feel better about myself. And if I feel better about myself, then I'm going to perform better in my relationships with other people.
And so all of a sudden, you're looking at yourself as a leader and giving yourself leadership qualities so you can take them out into your teams or your
Right.
interactions, or but it starts with you. So what I heard you say is you took ownership.
Yes.
And I think that that is a really hard thing for people to do, is and to close the loop theoretically, that is your discipline, is taking ownership.
Well, it's also recognizing, and this, if I was to stand up in front of your chamber and say this, I would say to them, there's a huge difference between knowing how to run your business and knowing how to lead your business. And if you run your business, you're just doing through the mechanics of the business. But to lead your business, you first must lead yourself. You first must decide, what kind of person do I want to be as the leader of my business? And what is the impact that I want to have? And I think one of the impacts that come from that is I'm going to become the facilitator of the leadership of my people, of the people of my that work for me. I'm going to do whatever I can to help them be leaders.
Okay, so I have a question. The movie book, let me go back. The book, and then in turn movies, A Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Ebenezer Scrooge has a tremendous metamorphosis in that story. He starts out as the stingy, self-centered, money-focused, not really caring too much about humanity guy. And this revelation in the center of the story of past, present, future is revealed to him, and says, "Hey, if you continue the way you are, you're not heading in the direction you want to go." So he changes his ways and becomes a better human, a better steward, a
That's
better
right.
facilitator to people. So the question is if when you were writing your book, you were able to change yourself. And that was, hey, I need to look at my sleep habits. I need to see when I'm inspired in order to write my book. And you changed. When you're leading an organization and you see yourself as Ebenezer Scrooge and you want to be the new Ebenezer Scrooge, how do you carry people through that transition when you're really good at your skill, but you need to be better at leading people? You're not going to wake up on Christmas morning and start passing out money to the people. So, how do you cautiously, carefully, methodically pull your people from who you see that you are to who you want to be as well?
Well, the first thing it requires is time, and time with your people, and time with your people where you create an atmosphere where they can talk with you as the leader. And you have to, and I don't think people think about this, but the people that work for people, the people that work for leaders, they know what's going on. There is nothing hidden. There is nothing hidden in any business. So I know that the people that run businesses think that they're clever in hiding their sense of inadequacy or their sense of being a fraud or whatever that is. Their people see it. There is nothing hidden. We cannot hide from the truth of our lives, and the truth of our lives have an impact on the people that work for us. So the best thing to do is to begin to build relationships with your people, and part of that is to ask them what it is that they believe in, what it is that they value. I after long years of doing consulting, I came to this little phrase, and it's a complicated phrase, but once you hear it, I think it'll make sense.
Okay.
And the phrase is that in every organization, there is a persistent, residual culture of values. There is a value system that's present there that the head of the company or the organization did not cause to happen. They may think that they are the culture creators of that business. They are not. The people are the culture creators. So there's a persistent residual culture of values that persist because it resides in the relationships of the people.
Okay.
The people that work in the business are living out values. And when you have conflict, that's because there's a conflict of values. So if you're the leader of a business, where you really need to start, if you need to recognize that there's change that needs to happen, you need to start by saying, what are the values which define our business? And not just the values that you can put on a card and put up on a wall and say, we value our customers. No one believes that. No one believes that you value your customers. What you value is the money that your customers pay to you. Let's be honest about that. So what you must do is to find values that you're willing to die for, you're willing to sacrifice for, so that those values remain true to you as the owner or the business head, and you will attract people who share those values if you're very clear and you talk about those values all the time. And so you want to build a team around the values which are shared with one another. And from those values comes the level of respect that one another has. So you have respect, and out of that becomes trust. And from that trust, you're able to be mutually accountable to one another. Now imagine the head of a business being accountable to the people that work for him or her. That's a radical thought in our world today. But if you want your business to thrive, you better listen to your people. And if you don't like what they're saying to you and they're wrong, then you have to deal with that. But that's what I see as really the key. Build on values, build your relationships around those values, then everything else will follow from that.
So in leading the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber this year, one of my personal goals is to focus on the client/member experience.
Oh, great.
So one thing about myself is I like to joke when I call myself a recovering event planner. I owned an event planning business for 8 years, and we did the spectrum of events, from races to corporate events to weddings. We did several large veteran type events. So just anything that gathered people together. We were the ones that put together the plan. And my business partner at the time and I, wonderful gal named Jenny Hess, she and I decided early on when we were developing our business model that we could have the best flowers, the best music, the best guests, the best everything, best food. But really, what it came down to is, how did people feel when they left the things that we had put together?
Yeah.
People could feel if we were prepared or not. People could feel if, anything that we put together. And it mattered, but ultimately it didn't, because when people left, they weren't still tasting that food. They weren't still hearing that music. They were remembering how they felt doing those things. And so pulling this back into leading the executive board and the board of directors of the Lewisville-Clemmons Chamber of Commerce, my goal and what I'd like to impart on them is to focus on the member experience. How are people feeling being part of our organization? That's what they're going to carry forward. And
Yeah.
this podcast is going to launch later down the road, so I'll go ahead and spoil this whole thing, but it won't launch. We have a board meeting next week, but what I'm gonna do is, for all 20 board members, I've gone to a local antique store and I found they're little statues of ducks, and they're each gonna get a duck from me. And why the heck are they getting ducks? Here's the story. So I used to play competitive soccer, and we were at a tournament, and we were just losing miserably. I mean, we looked awful out there. We were just doing so poorly. And it was halftime of the game, and we all got called to the side, and our coach said, "What the heck are you doing out there?" And one of my teammates said, "We're losing." And he goes, "Yeah, no joke. You can see it. It's written all over your faces, all over your body language. You're out there just losing. That's what you're doing. I didn't come here to watch losers. I didn't come here to represent losers. You know what I came here to do? I came here to represent ducks." And we were like, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, ducks. You're not going to win every game. That's not what this is about. But when they call you back onto the field, I want to see a bunch of ducks go out there. And here's why. Because ducks, you need to learn from them. They're on the water, their heads up, they're calm, they're poised. Water is rolling off their back. But you know what they're doing underneath that water? They're paddling like crazy. I
Wow.
want to see you get out there and be ducks." And to me, wrapping that whole thing together, that's what the experience is there are a lot of details. There is a lot of work. You sit on a board, you give your time, you volunteer, you put plans in place, you engage other people, you expect good behavior and progress and everything out of all these people to hand the members an experience.
Yeah.
But none of that matters if they don't have a good feeling when they leave. And so I want to see ducks on my board.
I love
And
it.
that's impact.
That is impact. And that's really cool. That's a great use of your role as the president of the chamber to provide your people something. In this case, it's a social object. Now, every time somebody sees a duck, they'll now associate it with you, which is
I
really
hope so.
so you got this social object of the duck that will constantly remind them of what it is that they can do. I think that's marvelous. It's really great.
Thank you. Thank you. And essentially that's what we do with a tangible product at the historic Broyhill is, if you're coming to your headquarters, your office, you want a clean place, you want a secure place, and you want to come to a place that has like-minded people.
Yeah.
And that's how you grow, is by just surrounding yourself with like-minded people. And that's why I'm so happy to know you.
And me to you. And the fact that we're going to be living in the same town
Oh, I'm so excited.
means we're going to have opportunity to work together. And I'm
Sounds great.
grateful for that, and thankful to Ken Hooser, my high school classmate, who has put us together.
You guys were high school classmates? That's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't.
we played football together.
Oh, wow. Well,
He,
there's some stories in itself right there. I can't wait to
yeah,
dive into some of that.
he's been a big supporter of the Circle of Impact, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, how about next time I'm on, I'll review your book with you. I need
Yeah,
to read it.
that's a great idea. Or we'll do it on your podcast.
Oh, I love that.
That's,
Yeah, yeah. The HB Studios. This is the podcast studio that we're just launching. I'm excited for that too.
okay. Here's the last question.
Yes.
What's your hope for the future?
My hope for the future, oh gosh, now this answer is going to sound so canned, but it's to have impact, but it's to have the right impact.
Mhm.
That's what I really want to do. My hope, personally, my hope is I'm a budding public speaker. I love emceeing events. I love being the keynote. I love teaching lunch and learns. I love being in front of people. I don't even know how that even happened, but it did. And once it did, I was ignited in an area of my life and my personal development that I wasn't expecting at all. So my personal goal is to do more of that. But what that means is I would like to continue having the right impact on the right people. And so my hope is for continued growth, for continued opportunity, and for meeting the right people. And that's just happening. It makes me feel like I'm on the right path.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's fantastic. You know,
What's your hope?
what's my hope?
Yeah.
Well, my hope is wrapped up in my goal of seeing 1% of the world's population take personal initiative to create impact that makes a difference that matters. So my hope is being fulfilled by what I see happening. That it's a long description that's embedded with this, but what I see happening is people like you, but so many of the people that have been on the Eddie Network podcast who are taking initiative to make a difference where they are. And increasingly, I'm seeing that because I think that coming out of the pandemic, people realized that they were denied the opportunity to make a difference, and now they want to because they see something valuable to them by taking action, by taking initiative. They see something that matters to them that they were denied, and now they are free, at least for the period of time that we're in right now, to take action. So, my goal is to see that 1% make that difference, and it will create a grassroots. My hope is the grassroots community that exists worldwide will grow, and we will see resilience, and we'll see strength, and we'll see change happen that will not be top down, but really growing up from the ground. It's really a very organic sort of thing. So that's where my hope is.
Well, if you will, consider me a duck on your team.
All right. I like that. I'm going to have to think about this duck thing some more. I think it's great. It kind of reminds me, I mean, all that you described kind of reminds me of watching Ted Lasso and his thing about the goldfish. The goldfish
Yes,
has a
yes.
memory of about 10 seconds, and using these these animal metaphors are really helpful. And I have another one which I wrote about last year about the ostrich, the peacock, and the sheepdog. The ostrich puts its head in the ground, the peacock preens, but the sheepdog is the one that takes care of everyone. And
Hey, between you and I, we'll have a whole zoo.
there we there we go. Thank you, Kristen, for being here, and
Thank
I
you
look
for
forward to
having me.
talking with you some more. And thank you, everybody, for watching. This is not just entertainment. This isn't just entertainment. This isn't really entertaining. It is entertaining in the sense of interesting, but this is really about what you can be and the way you can be a person of impact if you just decide that it's important to do that. And if you need help, all you have to do is ask. It's all very simple. There's nothing holding you back. There's nothing holding you back except your own reticence. So let's deal with that and see where your life can go, and use Kristen as an example of what is possible. And everyone else that's been on here is also an example for you. And so maybe we'll have you on here and you'll tell your story and you will have an impact upon some other people because of what you've experienced.
Let's change the world.
There you go. So I'm grateful for you watching. Please subscribe and hit the like button. And if you want to leave a comment, we would appreciate that as well. And we'll see you next time here on the Eddie Network Podcast. Bye-bye.